began to feel my body. At first, I felt a great pain in my knees and back. I felt stiff and cold. I regained my senses of hearing and seeing. I heard once again the wind and the dogs barking, and I saw the darkness because the half moon had vanished. I put on my shirt and my sweater. I was so cold. I saw nothing but dispersed light in the mountains, and with difficulty, because my eyes were full of water, I tried to stand up, but I couldn't, for I was stiff. I was weak, so weak. I turned around so I could see something, but I couldn't see anything inside my heart. My mind was trying to understand what happened. Then I tried to stand up to walk as much as I could. I was astonished all the time, and I noticed that the candles were almost melted. And at that moment I realized that a long time went by. It was 3:35 in the morning. 4 hours have gone by like seconds. Then I began to think of everything that happened and recapitulated the light, the wind, the answers, the feelings. I tried to find a light, a single thought that could convince me of what happened and to analyze it. It was difficult, and I felt that my head is so small. I lied down on my side to ease the blood circulation because my body was stiff after 4 hours of kneeling. I stood up, took what's left of the candles, put them in the bag, together with the Bible, and came down the road reviewing in my head everything that happened. I was trying to find a logical analysis of what happened to me. My reasoning was unable to find even a small argument. In my mind I was looking for an analysis, but in my heart I was so comfortable. The same feeling was still burning inside me, but I needed a proof that I was not dreaming. Near the statue of Saint Charbel, I felt something hot on my arm. I itched and thought something bit me. I continued my way. My arm was getting warmer, while the rest of my body was cold. I got to the car thinking that something bit me in the arm. I took off my sweater. I rolled up my sleeve. I saw 5 fingers on my forearm. They were engraved like a hand on my arm and encircled by a red glare, as if imprinted through fire. But I felt nothing but warmth. I went home. On my way home I thought I had a fever. The wind was cold. I felt it warm. The candles were moving. I saw them still. It was all a mere hallucination. I thought those fingers were only the fruit of my fever. Upon my arrival, I was anxious. I wanted someone to see my arm, to see if what I was seeing was real. When my wife saw my arm, she made the sign of the cross and asked me, "Whose hand is this?" Then I felt a great relief. I needed no more proof. What happened to me was real. I stayed home for 3 days, thinking and trying to find the words to express what had happened, because a feeling inside me was pushing me to go on a high mountain and tell everybody about what had happened with me, while another feeling was making me hesitate because I want to be able to tell what I have seen or heard, or even what feeling is growing inside of me. I stayed in that situation for 3 days until Saturday. I took an appointment with Archbishop Abi Nader and told him what was exactly happened. He was astonished when he saw my arm, but was so scientific in dealing with the matter. He said, "We won't know what's on your arm. Doctors should give their opinion." The next day I came here to the convent. I saw Father Thomas Mahana, the superior. I told him what had happened. He was affected, but I felt as if he was accustomed to the works of Saint Charbel. He asked me many times about what has exactly happened. At that time it was so difficult for me to express what happened. He also asked me for a medical report to see what's on my arm. On Monday I went to the Hotel Dieu hospital. I met several doctors who examined my arm. After special analysis they concluded it's a burn of a 2nd or 3rd degree, which is the worst kind of burns. However, the first difference from the common burn was that they couldn't define the cause of this burn. The second was that this burn left no infection. The third was absence of pain. I felt no pain, as if this burn was on someone else's arm. One of the doctors asked me to treat it. I said no, let the one who did it be the one to deal with it. Either it grows and my arm will be amputated, or it will heal by itself. I left the hospital and went to Our Lady of Perpetual Help Hospital. There the doctors gave me the same analysis. Most of the doctors refused to give me a report. Some of them because they didn't know what to write. Others preferred avoiding the controversy. And some of them gave me different reports. At that time I received a message. I tried during 8 months to transmit it to different groups with whom I met and gave my testimony about what had happened to me during my first experience. I conveyed to them the message that I had received and felt. We are all invited to experience for ourselves in that world, and I'll try to summarize it as much as I can. Why are people taking the way down while the way of the Lord goes up? I see mankind loaded with burdens and concerns that bend their backs with heaviness and force of their foreheads to touch the ground. They can no more straighten up, are unable to lift their heads to see the face of God. Each man is trying to free himself from the burden of his shoulders by taking it off his back and placing it on his brothers. Then another brother lifts the burden off his shoulders and lays it back heavier on the first. People are trying to free themselves and free one another from these burdens. Only Jesus can free all men from all their burdens and their concerns. A slave cannot free a slave. People are born shackled with chains, tied with bonds. They are born with them. They are raised and grow up on them, and many die with them. People have grown accustomed to the clatter of these chains. They are getting used to the shining and colors of these bonds, and they began to like their shackling and their colors. But the shackling of those chains is deafening their ears, rendering them unable to hear the voice of God. The shining glare of their bonds and their colors are dazzling their eyes, making them unable to see the face of God. They started loving their bonds so that freeing them from those bonds became difficult. They have started to glorify the man with the noisiest chains and praise the one with the brightest bonds. Jesus is suffering so much at the sight of men